Our favorite anime critiquer. Is that even a word? Mr. Anime Man. Not Joey Bissinger. This is main channel content. He back with the video, The Power of Music in Anime. I think that music soundtracks might be one of the most important parameters in what we call production value. People care about art style, animation, overall direction, stuff like that. I think that soundtrack can actually make or break an anime. How many shitty animes has been carried by Hiroyuki Sawano, the composer?
Anime ever made. There's a number of factors that people come up with to justify their choices. Obviously, animation quality is a huge factor since we're talking about, animation. If the said piece of animation has good animation, then naturally it will be deemed as good animation.
Yeah?
You're learning. Other factors may include things like
Stop moving.
incredible depth of characters or a streamlined progression of the story and impact frames. Lots and lots of impact frames.
We love impact frames. Gets the monkey brain going.
But one aspect that I think a lot of anime fans tend to overlook is the audio side of things, aka sound vibrations that sound pleasant to one's ear holes, aka
Voice acting.
For those of you who don't know, I'm a huge music nerd. In fact, I've been a music nerd probably longer than I've been an anime nerd, which is very blasphemous to say on a
That's right. And that's why his take on Bocce the Rock is justified.
channel with this particular name on it. And I started actually playing classical piano from a very young age and was in a bunch of
Balding?
bands back when I was in school. And I also happen to just make music on the side.
Cool.
So if you'd like to check that out and are curious, then please go and give Daddy that sweet, sweet Spotify money. As a self
Do you make a lot of money on Spotify just by having music there that people listen to? I never really looked into it. That's pretty cool.
proclaimed anime and music nerd, I've always wanted to talk about the music in anime because it's one aspect I greatly appreciate in the medium. And I also feel in a weird way it's a heavily underappreciated and almost misunderstood aspect of the medium of anime as well. So
Misunderstanding music? Huh? What the hell is the Pope doing here? I feel like, again, music is just can enhance scenes so much. For example, Dan Da Dan, episode 7, bro. My god, the emotional piano soundtrack that really heightens, your, I guess, engagement into the sad backstory, hitting all those tragic notes in such a beautiful way. Like, if that soundtrack wasn't there, there's a good chance that I might have not cried. Or even in a completely different application of music, Konosuba. Konosuba, I think, uses music so well. The timing, the whimsical nature of certain melodies to portray like the comedic scenes, whether it be stupid. Again, music is such an important part of anime. I maybe even overvalue it. I really care a lot about good soundtracks.
So the question needs to be asked then, what makes music in anime so powerful and why should we even care about it?
It enhances what's already there, right? Elevates the emotional moments, whether it be sad, happy, triumphant, all these different emotions, the music can escalate it beyond.
But before we begin, a quick word.
Sakura Co! I used to do these sponsorships, and then I didn't. You know why? Guess what? All the boxes that you see here, Sakura Co sponsorships. If you have a Patreon, there's literally no point doing a Sakura Co, or I don't want to disrespect them. They were great. They were a great brand to work with. The handler that I had was fantastic, was very lenient with the deliverable schedules, and I had nothing but a good relationship with them. But if we're talking from a pure profitability standpoint, affiliate links like this is the worst way to get paid as a content creator. Especially if you have Patreon, because now you're directly competing. You're making your audience compete against your Patreon. Like, if my audience only watches me for anime reactions, then I plug, this ad where I say, hey, spend $30, guys, and I get 10% cut. Then you guys can get like a 5% discount or some shit on your first purchase. Do you really think people are going to spend $30 fucking on this shit when $30 could go at least like 3 months or beyond on my Patreon that people actually care about? The value proposition makes no sense. You're making your audience decide between that or Patreon. It's fucking stupid. Affiliate link sponsorships, if you have Patreon incentive, is fucking stupid. It's a waste of time. If you want free goodies, it's fun though. The best type of sponsorships are when people are like, all right, this is an advertisement campaign, react to Genshin Impact trailer, this and that, and we'll pay you out of flat free with viewership incentives. Now you are getting paid not when your audience is buying it, but because you actually made the videos. Those are the best sponsorships. To be transparent, the overall money I made off of Sakurako and Tokyo Treat over an entire fucking year, bro, less than $50. One single advertisement campaign for that Infinite Nikki game that we reacted to in that one stream where we just pumped out 7 videos, which were like minute shorts long. Guess how much I got paid for that? $1,000. It's not even fucking close. Affiliate sponsorships are fucking pointless.
Supporting the channel. Now, let's get back to the video. One of the first things that anybody will experience when diving headfirst into a brand new anime is a little piece of music that plays for roughly 90
the opening
seconds or so. No.
And guess what? I actually way prefer anime soundtracks over the opening or the ending. That's always been me. The opening, I don't really care for. Doesn't mean I don't like them. Doesn't mean it doesn't mean I hate them. But like, I've always preferred the actual soundtracks that plays during an anime episode than an opening or an ending. But for a lot of people, it's the exact opposite.
Known as an anime opening. Yes, everybody's favorite thing about anime that people on the internet just can't.
Yeah, opening reactions go fucking crazy. There is something, and here's the thing, right? Specific episode reactions, many people don't give a fuck about it, other than the first episode and so on. But opening reactions, people love that shit. And it makes no sense to me why you would sit there and watch a person just fucking shake his head and say, wow, this part sounds great. And this is coming from a guy. Let me bring up my own page where, you know, I was really against doing anime opening reaction for a long time. I was stubborn. I thought that this is awkward. What value am I providing for you guys when I just sit there and just listen to the fucking anime opening that you've already heard? And for me to just sit there and just fucking bang my head and be like, wow, this is peak. This sounds great. If you look at the most popular videos, right? Shout out to Sister Leveling. There is Nokotan, right? There's a trailer reaction. We got the MASH. I love this one. MASH Season 2, you know, we got the Creepy Nuts opening, right? Hit for like almost 40k views. And stuff like this. And opening reactions, for whatever reason, again, it just does so fucking well. And I think the reason is because obviously not everyone is going to watch every single, you know, episode reactions of an anime. But an opening is something that is so easily accessible. You know, you don't have to watch every episode to know what's going on. You could just fucking watch the opening and music is just good to hear. And a little hack, something that I wished that I did when I first started doing reaction content is always lead in within every opening reaction. You see this? I reacted to all TWAD openings and endings. You see this? First time reacting to all ReZero openings. Or even better, let's look at my second channel, right? When I first started this channel, the idea was to focus on one thing only. And I thought that maybe if I started with Hazbin Hotel, things would do well. It didn't do well. But you know how everything started to pop off? I did in every Beyblade intro, every Beyblade opening reaction. And then once that pops off, then you can start doing episode releases. Because now the algorithm is now bringing in a shitload of audiences that only care about Beyblade. That's how you do it. You begin a new reaction channel. The first, you never want to do just like an episode reaction. Fuck that. Lead in with every opening, ending reaction. Get the algorithm to hit. A lot of people want to watch that content because it's easy, accessible content. Then you do the episode reactions. And then here's another one too, right? Ben 10. Not to the same degree because this is only 3 weeks ago, but sorry. This is right over here. 24k views, right? 3 weeks ago. So like opening reactions, bro, they're a fucking hack to get cheap views. But what you need to do after that is maintain that audience and make sure that you know exactly what you're going to do with that audience coming in.
Can't stop reacting to annoyingly. An anime opening will aim to do
Go back.
The internet anime opening. Yes, everybody's favorite thing about anime that people on the internet just can't stop reacting to annoyingly. And
he hates them. Can't stop reacting to annoyingly as he lists a bunch of fucking actual creators, just putting them on fucking blast. And you wonder why this guy has a bunch of fucking haters. Anyway, let's keep going.
Will aim to do mainly two things. Firstly, to establish the characters that you will be following throughout the story and to give you a rudimentary overview on their roles.
Yeah.
Here's the main character. Here are the main character's friends. Here is the mascot character that they're going to make a bajillion
Shout outs to Fairy
costumes
Tail.
out of. Here's the edgy antagonist. And here is that one mystery character that you're not too sure if you're going to be liking at the end of the series, but will most likely
Booba.
end up becoming your favorite character for whatever reason and being the subject to some of the most heinous amounts of Rule
Jesus.
34 the internet can conceive. A good anime opening will give you enough of a hint of what to expect without immediately giving everything away.
But that's the thing, bro. So many anime openings just spoils the entire plot. And I'm just sitting there like, what the fuck? Bro, how many times have we had to just literally skip the anime opening reactions? In fact, I was literally doing blind reactions where I would not look at the visuals and I would just fucking shake my head to the fucking song. And then later, halfway into the season, when some sort of huge plot, twist happens, that's literally shown in the opening. We can actually watch the fucking opening reaction now. Bro, it's so annoying. I hate that shit. Recently, though, I've been noticing a trend where the anime openings will give you false visuals. Like, the visuals will be the anime characters that you know in different sequences, yet they're not canon. Like, ReZero did that recently, right? ReZero did that with season 3 opening where you had Garfield fighting the fucking dragon alone. Did that ever happen? No. I love that. Where you fucking give amazing visuals that everyone can appreciate that is spoiler free. I love this new meta where it's just like, you know, fake visual openings. Let's go.
And ruining the entire experience for you potentially, while simultaneously hyping you up for a certain type of story. If the opening doesn't manage to do either one of these things, it's usually considered to be a bad anime opening, although nowadays it's pretty rare to come across.
I consider a bad opening purely based on the music. Genuinely, I don't give a fuck about the visuals. The visuals are an extra candy for me, like a little cherry on top. And like amazing visuals definitely gets far, but I prioritize the actual fucking melody, the actual song, how it sounds. That is so much more important than any visual could ever be. There's never going to be an anime opening where good visuals saves mid, song. But the opposite can be very true.
To be honest, I mean, you think that after making however many anime series in the past like 60-70 years that Japan would have figured out how to not screw up an anime opening, but you'd be surprised. Secondly, and more importantly, the opening and its accompanying song is used to kind of establish the overall vibe or style of the show. For example, do you have a story about a militaristic group fighting against a losing war to save humanity? Well, then give it that triumphant,
Sasageo,
epic, hopeful anthem of freedom and
That's
power.
right.
Or what about a story about a doomed post-apocalyptic world with a collapsed hostile environment run by robots and androids? Well, you better go and give it that brooding, dark, grungy track mixed with a tiny glitter of hope. Come and save! Or I don't know, what about a story about a bunch of bubbly high school girls doing cute shit? Well, you better give it the cutest and most batshit insane thing that humanity has ever heard of, dog! Sometimes a curveball is thrown, however, and you end up with an anime opening that doesn't quite match the vibe of the show itself.
And that's when people get really mad, like Kaiju 8. If people hated the Kaiju 8 opening because of the mismatch of the themes, right?
If at all, which you'd think would be an example of a bad anime opening, but if anything, these kinds of mismatched switch-ups end up becoming some of the most memorable and, in my opinion, underrated anime openings ever.
I think the misdirection can really pay off, right? Where you have something so dark naturally, but the opening is all happy and giggly, and it's just like, what the hell? They got me.
Like, think of the first time you watch shows like Death Parade or Madoka Magica or Welcome to the NHK. Like, the themes of the shows themselves are almost the polar opposite of how their openings sound. And this juxtaposition between these bubbly, upbeat, and almost celebratory pieces of music are a huge mismatch between the dark, depressing, and brooding themes of their respective shows, and yet it works so well for some reason and ends up becoming incredibly memorable.
It's the gap. It's the contrast. It's memorable because you've been led to believe that you would think that a show would be all bubbly and nice and giggly, and then boom, trauma. PTSD, dark.
Now, look, I could dive into the whole like music theory side of it all and try to explain to you why it works at a musically conceptual level, but I know 95% of you don't give a crap about that at all.
It's just easy as Gap. That's it.
All you need to understand, Lee Man, is that the best anime openings aren't always the bangers that play at your local anime convention raves. Sometimes it's the super slow and emotion-filled openings that can be just as powerful and memorable as the fast-paced openings you're typically used to.
Nah, most people again. And this is because the average person is stupid and there's a lot more stupid people than smart people. What is that supposed to mean? I think that most people are going to enjoy the hype, fast-paced, banger, boom, 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 way more than sophisticated, slow, emotional songs. Yup. That's why Battle Shonen is the biggest genre. You got a lot more kids that likes that Unga Bunga shit than, let's say, something so, I don't know, academic and smart and cathartic and, the pinnacle of writing. And nobody give a care about that, right? You gotta... But popular doesn't mean better. Right? Bigger number doesn't mean better. It's just... That's how numbers work with statistics with the population.
Used to hearing. I don't know about you guys, but the first time I heard the openings from shows like Elfen Lied, Bokurano, and Violet Evergarden, they left a huge impact for me. Not because they were these upbeat, feel-good bangers to play at my next house party necessarily, but because they made me feel something in this pitiful void of a thing that I like to call a heart. If anything, in my humble...
Is he calling his own heart pitiful there?
Opinion, the more left field or strange the opening sounds to a conventional standard, the better and more memorable the anime opening is. And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who thinks this way.
It depends on how it's executed, right? Because sometimes people they try to do something so different and it just sounds fucking bad and people will just call it fucking trash.
I mean, just look at the recent success of the openings to shows like Dan Da Dan.
Yes, this is unique, right? This is unorthodox. Creepy Nuts, the way they do music is fundamentally different from anything that I've heard in the anime openings, that we constantly hear every day where everything is very formulaic, right? They're sticking to the template of what works good. Creepy Nuts does a fantastic job in executing the unique, strategy. But there's so many other anime openings too. I can't name in the top of my head right now. Fuck. What's some other ones? Oh, let's put Sakamoto Days on blast. The Sakamoto Days opening, I think, is pretty mid, man. Did they try to do something different though? The style? Maybe that's a bad one to bring up for comparison. What's another one? I don't know. I'm just thinking about Remonster right now because that rap was so fucking mid.
Or Shinoko. Like, these are definitely not your typical sounding pop songs you would hear in the West or on the radio, yet they're extremely popular in not just the anime community, but in the
globally
broader internet community as well. And it might be because ultimately we might be attracted to music that has this sort of unfamiliar familiarity, something that conceptually sounds like something you've heard before, but just not quite. I mean,
basically take something that's already been done really well, popular shit, add on to it, customize it, make it unique, and then that goes crazy.
And look, there's only so many of these like cookie cutter J-pop upbeat bubbly anime openings that one can listen to before.
Yeah, this is pretty much like 95% of the anime openings that we listen to, right?
They all start to kind of blend together and sound the same.
That's why, like, I can't remember. Like, sometimes I'm like, did we react to this anime opening, guys? Because I cannot remember. Some of them are so unmemorable. Some of them are so fucking just generic, right? Because they all play to the same fucking themes and, rhythm, and because it's a working formula. Why change what's working? But sometimes I just, it all blends in together.
But that's just openings. So what about
endings?
Anime endings?
People tend to not give a fuck about anime endings as much, right? There are really exceptional cases, like the most recent ending that was better than the opening was Sentai Ranger, Loser Ranger, right? There's these specific ones where the endings can pop up, but for the most part, endings are stereotypically not as exciting, more slow, more chill, because you just finished an anime episode, right? You want to give the audience like this cool down time, right? Whenever you're about to start an episode, you want to get hyped up. You want to get excited. Play a fucking upbeat opening, get people excited, lead into the episode. And now the episode is over, you want to cool them down. So I think that's why the endings are usually just kind of more chill, even though that's not all of it, but that's the pattern that I've seen. And ending visuals too, it's usually way more bad, right? Like any visuals are not existent. It's usually just one character, it's a camera, it's one character, and you have a camera moving across that character. You know? Like ending visuals are usually, if not always, just way worse than opening visuals.
Well, this is where it starts to get a little bit muddy because admittedly, everybody skips anime endings.
Yep.
Can we all just stop gaslighting ourselves? Can we all just...
This is a fact. Not everybody, but vast majority of people, I think, just skip endings. A lot of people also skip openings, man. Do you really think they're gonna watch the ending?
collectively come together as a community for once in our goddamn lives and agree that around 75 to 80% of all anime endings are just kind of forgettable?
Yeah, they are. There are ones that really do stand out here and there, but the pattern of behavior for most anime endings, right, is just boring. The visuals are very lackluster and the song is just slow as fuck and you're like, whatever.
I know this might be a bit of a hot take from me as per usual,
Not even a hot take. This is a lukewarm take.
but counter question, can you honestly name me five anime endings that everybody in the anime community can immediately sing the melody of?
Not much.
Probably not.
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
And look, it's kind of hard to say who's at fault here for this like weird phenomenon. Like, is it the anime production's fault for not including enough memorable bangers to an end of an episode? Because even they know that it's not as important
JJK ending was great. The visuals for the JJK endings were phenomenal.
as the attention-grabbing openings? Or conversely,
But here's the thing, right? Just think about it. If you have limited resources, right? Limited, like it's all about resource allocation. Do you think that people are going to put more emphasis on the ending than the opening? When the opening literally in sequence, it plays at the beginning of the episode when everyone's getting hyped up. And also, that's the thing. You want to have an exciting opening to get the people in a feel-good mood to enjoy the episode that's going to continue right after. Once the episode's done, most people click off of it, and due to the nature of that whole, like, I guess, cooling down, theme that they're going to go with, the endings can only be worse than the opening. Now, there are exceptions, but for the most part, it's just structured in such a way that the endings will very rarely have more priority than opening.
is it our fault as anime fans for being too impatient and wanting to immediately watch the next episode of the show and
It's a bit of both, right? It's I don't think one side has a specific blame. It's always, a combination of things.
not wanting to stick around watching something that ultimately doesn't add any extra content to the story? It's hard to say exactly, and arguments can be thrown for both sides, but one thing is for certain. There are some incredible
Endings.
pieces of music within anime endings that
Yes.
just don't get enough love and
Absolutely.
respect. Hell, I would argue some ending songs are actually
Better.
and more memorable.
Yes, they are. They are. I mean, shit. Let me just bring that up. Fuck. What? Okay. I have two. I have a couple of them. In fact, you can even see them on in the video page.
Reaction content for a
Yeah. Shut up. That's me talking in a different video. Recently, solo leveling ending with TK. I think I enjoy the solo leveling ending more than the opening. Opening is great, but the ending was fantastic. Villainous, Oji-san Villainous ending, also fantastic. Maybe better than the opening. What else is there? There is where's that stupid thumbnail? This one. This is the best anime ending, I say. Go Getters, Mori Calliope, Suicide Squad. That ending was so fucking peak, bro. Better than the opening. And another one that's not listed here right now is Arifureta. Arifureta season 2 ending, I think. I fucking love that shit more than the opening. And again, these are just specific picks for me that really stand out.
than their opening counterparts. Some of the most well-known anime endings are usually a direct result of that show's popularity. For example, everybody has most likely heard of anime endings like Fly Me to the Moon from Evangelion, and Kimi no Shiranai Monogatari from the Bakemonogatari series, and Wind from Naruto, but
Okay.
I think we can all accept that to varying degrees, these ending songs and so many more do such a great job of further enhancing that vibe of that particular show, whilst giving off a great sense of kind of momentary closure to the whole episode experience. In some rare exceptions, anime endings are memorable because of the sheer lack of an opening entirely. Like, think of shows like Fully Cooley or Shinsekai Yori or Yesterday or Da.
As in, like, the opening just doesn't exist at all. It's not that the opening is mid and the ending is better. It's just there is no opening, therefore the ending is the only thing you can glaze.
Absolutely zero openings, but are usually accompanied with
Okay.
banger endings that could
Cool.
honestly pass off as openings and
And I would argue that because, again, like, whenever you're budgeting and whenever you're trying to resource allocate, right? Opening is going to always take more priority because it's right at the beginning of the episode, right? It's going to have more importance. But if that's not the case at all, then yeah, you probably have more to just put into the ending.
mood setters of their own. I personally have a short list of some of my personal favorite anime endings, like Hello Shooting Star from Assassination Classroom, a beautiful track.
That's a good
For
one.
the Love of Life from Monster, really dark and brooding, perfect vibe setter for the entire show. Do You Want To from Paradise Kiss, which is just a Franz Ferdinand track, and I love that band. Secret Base from Anohana. I'm sure everybody has cried at least once listening to this ending. Or what about Monster Without a Name from Psycho Pass? Really cybery and a great, again, mood setter. A Shiki no Uta from Samurai Champloo, one of the smoothest anime endings ever made.
The anime man is stop watching anime after the year 2000. Nah, I'm kidding. Plus, many of these probably are after 2000, right? They're just a fucking repeating meme that, like, you know, he only appreciates animes that are old, and all the modern ones, fuck all of them, right?
Honestly, I could do this all goddamn day, boys.
Name some beyond the year of 2020. Or let's say 2015. Give me something new.
Listen, ultimately, I'm not gonna tell you how to watch your anime. If you want to skip every opening and every ending,
Or even watch it in English dub, go ahead. I'm gonna think you're a retard, but hey, you can do you, bro.
every episode, every anime, then you're more than welcome to do so. It's not gonna change my life in any way. I'm not your goddamn dad. I personally aim to watch the full opening and ending of at least every first episode as a sort of vibe check, and if it passes the smell test, I'll usually sit around and listen to it every episode. But if I don't vibe with it, I'm just gonna skip it. That's just how my brain
Fair.
works. But let's dive deeper into this niche topic of auditory stimulation.
Before we go on beyond the anime opening and ending things that's been covered, here's one thing I've noticed. Bro, sometimes they use anime openings to literally catfish you into thinking the anime is actually gonna be good. A perfect example of that recently is a show called Nut Master or Fruit Master. Holy shit, the opening visuals went crazy. But that's it. If you look at the actual anime, it's nothing like it at all. Another one recently was that I was really disappointed in was Mahoka, the Irregular at Magic High School Season 3 done by 8-Bit Studios. Look, you can hire Lisa all you want. You can have her pump out an amazing fucking opening with great visuals. The actual fucking season sucks! Like, sometimes openings are just used to fucking catfish you, bro, into thinking that, like, there's any hope that the anime episodes are gonna be on that quality. Most of the times, though, anime openings, though, they're going to be way more higher quality. It's just the relative, like, difference between what the opening is when the actual episode is in Fruit Master. That blew my mind.
Stimuli in Japanese cartoons, because I've saved arguably the most important, yet the most underappreciated aspect for last. The soundtrack.
Yes! I think soundtrack is way more important to me than opening or ending. And I know that I'm in the minority. Everyone cares only about the fucking openings and the endings. There's never going to be soundtrack reactions that do better than anime opening reactions. I know. It is what it is. But to me, I've always preferred and prioritized soundtracks over openings and endings. Openings and endings didn't really matter to me at all. I'm like, all right, what does the fucking sound play when I'm actually watching the episode?
Listen, I'm happy for you that you have your favorite anime opening or favorite anime ending, but do you have a favorite anime soundtrack?
I do. There's so many though, actually, and there's so many that I can't even name right now. It's on the top of my. I mean, literally, like Eminence and Shadow is just all fucking bangers, right? Like Fight in the Darkness, or like bro, the strongest. Like, there's so many good ones. Sometimes there's like these anime soundtracks that comes out that I just can't find ever because there isn't an official release to it. I do know composer names. For example, Shiro Sagisu. Shiro Sagisu, who does Bleach soundtracks, fucking godlike. I think he also did Evangelion, soundtracks too for the movies, right? Shiro Sagisu, like Clever La Espada, right? Like those, like the Arrancar arc, the soundtracks, the Latin infused like guitar and percussions. Oh my god, those are fucking peak, bro. Another one is Hiroki Sawano, which everyone is familiar with, right? Because of what happened with Attack on Titan, right? This fucking popped off, and ever since then, he has such a distinctive way of composing music. I like to call them the Sawano horns. You hear these fucking blaring horns, and you're like, yup, that's Hiroki Sawano. There's another guy named Taku Iwasaki. He might be a lesser known. I don't even think that I've seen the animes of his, but basically, I just search up anime soundtracks and listen to what I think is good. And Taku Iwasaki has some fucking amazing ones. Oh, what's another guy? Kevin Pankins, bro. Kevin Pankins is a genius. The way that he captures the mood of Made in Abyss or even season 1 of Tower of God, it just makes sense. It's fucking peak, bro. And there is another one called Kenichi Suehiro, who is the one that did the Eminence and Shadow soundtrack, that also did Re:Zero soundtrack, right? If we think about episode 15, the one where, basically the credits start rolling, the Requiem of, what is it? Requiem of chat! Why the fuck are you all on mobile phone with a 30-second delay? Requiem of Silence. Thank you, Mortal Ranger. Jesus fucking Christ. You guys' delays are crazy. Like soundtracks like that transcends openings, I would say, right? Just fucking bangers. And there's so many more that I'm unable to list right now, but like I've always been a soundtrack nerd. Even before anime soundtracks, like in high school and stuff like that, I never cared about lyrical songs. Never give a fuck about, pop songs, rap songs, lyrics. I cared about the instrumentals though. That led me to find, let's say soundtracks of movies, video games. Shit like that mattered to me more. And that's why Hans Zimmer was one of the people that I looked forward to the most whenever he's doing some sort of movie. And it's like, oh shit, it's a Hans Zimmer film. For example, guess what? The Lion King is Hans Zimmer. Prince of Egypt, the one that we played Deliver Us, for jokes recently, also, Hans Zimmer, bro. He's done Inception. He's done Pirates of the Caribbean. He's done Dune recently. Is so many good fucking Dark Knight as well, right? It's just like I care. That's why like I can never remember like anime directors' names. That's part of like the production board, but like I can always remember like anime soundtrack composers.
That's gonna separate the true anime music nerds from the rest of the plebeian weeb.
I absolutely agree with him here, bro. Call me snobby all you want. Call me pretentious. I am 100% on board with the anime man here.
Jokes aside, I feel anime
I'm not joking.
really don't get enough love or appreciation in the anime community, and honestly, I can't blame people for thinking this way because at the end of the day, anime is a visual medium, not an auditory medium.
Yeah, and when you're watching the episode, there's so many different things going on. You're looking at the subtitles to read, you're listening to the voice acting, you're looking at the stimulating visuals, and there's also soundtrack playing in the background, but at a smaller tone. So you're not really going to be able to really appreciate that compared to an actual fucking opening, which is entirely dedicated towards highlighting the song.
It's not going to be front and center like listening to your favorite song or favorite album on a Spotify soundtrack, and it honestly shouldn't be, because the prime purpose of a soundtrack is to aid in the particular emotion of a scene or show. Because at the end of the day, anime is a mainly visual medium, not an auditory medium.
Yes, but the visual medium can be enhanced with the auditory. It's mainly visual for sure, right? The soundtracks. But like, what about the voice acting? Could you not say that voice acting plays a significant, huge role in anime? I guess the visuals still matter more, right? Because at the end of the day, like, in anime is animation. You're watching things move, right? Of course, people are going to be saying shit and you're going to hear things too, but I guess that's not as important as like the movements.
Think of the act of experiencing a soundtrack in an anime in the same way that you would experience eating a sundae. Like, you're always going to have a better time tasting it and appreciating all of its flavors rather than just looking at a picture of a sundae from a distance and trying to imagine how it would taste. Sometimes the taste of this particular sundae is going to be nothing exceptional, just your standard flavors that taste good together and you can't really complain about. These are the types of shows that generally have these acceptable soundtracks that work decently with the scenes they play in, but
Most of them are very forgettable though. Like most anime soundtracks, they just kind of exist, and those are very uninspiring. But there are some soundtracks where you listen and you're like, oh shit, it's that theme. Recently, Apothecary Diaries, whenever the character Lakan shows up, there's a soundtrack called Red Bud that plays. And you hear the piano and the violin, and it's such a menacing soundtrack that perfectly captures the mood that, you know, Lakan is supposed to, I guess, portray before he reveals those secrets of his actual identity, right? Like, those moments are like, oh shit, it's that moment, you know? Like, it's great. Whenever you have like a battle, you know, whenever you have like a battle thing happening, like in Beyblade actually too, right? In the second channel, when we're watching like Beyblade fucking reactions, right? There's like, this is Jenga's theme. This is Kyoya's theme. These are like specific themes that play on this specific times, and it kind of like acts as like a trigger to be like, oh shit, something high's about to happen.
but ultimately will be something that won't really stick around in your head once you've finished watching it. And well, for lack of the better words, sound pretty standard and samey. But every now and then, you're gonna eat that sundae that you are going to remember long after you finish eating it. A sundae that, just from remembering how it tasted, will just make your mouth water.
A sundae that tastes so fucking good that you do everything in your power to search on the internet for that specific soundtrack, but guess what? It's not officially released. So you're stuck listening to random fucking YouTube channels that like orchestrate and compose it. And here we go. Shout outs to Enryu, right? Dude, bro, the Classroom of the Elite soundtrack for the White Room is fucking phenomenal. Look at this. Enryu, White Room. Shout outs again. I love this soundtrack. You hear this all the time when I play the drama videos, right? Like, there's some soundtracks where it's so fucking peak that you want to see it, but the official release is now, so you want to do something else. Or even stuff like this, where it's just like Demon Slayer, you know, Hashira Training, right? Hashira Training, Infinity Castle Arc soundtrack, right? The end of Demon Slayer, this soundtrack that plays, but the best part is looped. Play it. Oh! Fucking peak. So peak. So beyond peak. Demon Slayer just fucking kills it. Like, the soundtrack that plays in Demon Slayer is just a combination of the visuals are fucking perfect, and they also know exactly what soundtrack is needed to make the perfection even more perfect. There's these specific ones where it gives me goosebumps, where I go on Seek Out and I have to find like fan edits because the real official release hasn't released yet.
These are the soundtracks that you can listen to without any visuals whatsoever, and not only remember exactly the scene it's attached to sometimes, but also remember exactly how you felt while watching said scene. An example that I'm sure most anime fans can agree on is the soundtracks that accompany Ghibli films. Okay. Yes, I do understand that there are a number of quote-unquote openings and
I don't think I've really watched much Ghibli films, to be honest, guys.
Endings in Ghibli films, but for the most part, it's the soundtracks, the entire soundtracks usually, in certain scenes or certain films that beautifully accentuate the emotion and intensity of the different movies. I remember so vividly the first time I ever watched Princess Mononoke. I was like 5 or 6.
I've seen like random scenes of this, but never actually saw the entire movie.
6 years old, just peeing in my pants in front of the TV and watching that opening scene of the forest opening up and seeing Ashitaka, our main character, riding Yaku, by the way, the bestest boy in all of anime, and just being absolutely enamored in what I was experiencing as the track Legend of Ashitaka swept across the living room like a mountain breeze and immediately engulfed me into this
Funny you mentioned JoJo's soundtrack right now because Taku Iwasaki, the one that I mentioned before, is the one that I think that did JoJo season 2. The one with the Pillarmen and shit. I listened to that entire fucking soundtrack CD even though I never watched the season because it's so fucking amazing. Burning Coliseum, just naming it at the top of my head. There's like a Burning Coliseum soundtrack that's so fucking good. And then so much more. Avalon, I think, is what one is also called too. It's just fucking crazy ass dubstep.
this epic and mystical fantasy world that I was about to dip my tiny pinky toes into. As appealing and impressive
I thought he was about to say something else there.
as these visuals were and are still today, it's the music from composer Joe Hisaishi that truly captures the magical essence of what makes Princess Mononoke so brilliant and epic to so many people. I mean, to further prove my point, all I have to do is play this, and I probably just made all of you imagine a number of scenes and refeel a number of emotions you felt while watching Spirited Away. That's the power of iconic, beautiful soundtracks.
I've never watched Spirited Away. I was too busy watching Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach growing up. I've never actually completed a Ghibli film in my life, I don't think. Straight up. Never had the opportunity to. Only seen random clips here and there.
Another example that I want to talk about that hits me deep in my emotional G-spot is the soundtrack to the anime Clannad.
I will never watch this anime. Fuck you, I'm not here to cry looking at these alien girls.
If you're a longtime fan of mine, you probably saw this coming. There's a good reason why this show and its accompanying soundtrack is a standout favorite to so many anime fans, including
I mean, this is a sad show, right? It's like a fucking depressing ass, just fucking cry show, right? I think that you appreciate the soundtracks a lot more if they really lean towards that sad emotional tones. Just like how I remember that Dandadan on episode 7 for the whole tragedy and the piano soundtrack really heightening the sad tones, I bet Clannad does the same shit, where it just really exemplifies all the sad and tragic themes, whatever the story's trying to tell, with an orchestral composition that just makes you fucking be like, oh god, this song's playing, I'm gonna start crying.
Myself. I mean, of course, the story is beautiful and the themes are emotional and hard-hitting and the characters are memorable in their own right. But the soundtrack of this show, dog, fucks me up. You can pick any single track off of this Clannad soundtrack, and I guarantee you, tears in my eyes. The composer for the Clannad series and many key works, Maeda Jun, is one of my favorite Japanese composers for this
I've heard of
very
him.
reason. He's able to create these serene, calm, and melancholic piano pieces that perfectly straddle this boundary between somber and hopeful, which perfectly match the story of Clannad to further enhance the emotion you should be feeling as a watcher. One example that stands out to me personally is the track Chisana Tenohira, especially the vocal version. Like, not only are these lyrics incredibly beautiful and fit the theme of the show to a T, but
Nobody can appreciate the lyrics if you're not actually Japanese, though.
the way this track just swells with this feeling of almost melancholic optimism is something that, as a musician myself, albeit definitely not as good as Maeda Jun, just absolutely blew my mind the first time I heard it, especially in the context of the show. It's insane how effortlessly a piece of music can make you feel sad for a fictional character's life, and just thinking about what is playing in the background here behind me in this green screen is making me fucking emotional.
That's the exact same way how I feel about the Dandadan episode 7 piano soundtrack.
Damn it. Clannad would not be nearly as emotional and tear-jerking if it wasn't for the power of its soundtrack. And it's because of its soundtrack that makes the show just that much more special to so many anime fans. But of course, the sundae is sometimes very memorable because it's not quite the flavor you expected it to be. Sometimes the sundae that you thought would taste like vanilla and chocolate turned out to be rum and raisin. Most certainly an acquired taste, but if you mess with it, it's gonna be a quiet favorite of yours.
Where are we
And
going
yes,
with
I'm
this?
sticking to this sundae analogy, okay? Don't
Who says sundae instead of ice cream? What? I don't get that. It's like how Americans call pizza pie. Like, you want a slice of pie? I'm like, excuse me? I want a slice of pizza. You want a sundae? No, I want an ice cream. Where is this coming from?
Don't question me. These are the soundtracks that, kind of similar to the mismatched anime openings we talked about earlier, lean in.
Oh, I heard this one. Crowd, Gotcha Man. I've heard this one. I have this on my phone, actually. Haven't seen the anime, but again, when I go seek out, Taku Iwasaki. Yep, you're right there. Taku Iwasaki. The guy's name that I mentioned before. Yep, this is when I was on the Taku Iwasaki, journey, just looking for all the different soundtracks. I know, crowd, this is a fucking amazing song.
In a direction that is almost counterintuitive to the themes of the show in question. A great example of what I'm talking about here is the soundtrack to Gundam Thunderbolt. When you think of an anime about giant robots fighting in space, there's probably a number of musical genres
triumphant.
you might imagine. Maybe some orchestral symphonic music similar to the original Gundam anime, or perhaps
They love playing that classical music in space, man.
we can go to something a little bit more pumping, like some electronic synthwave, like what you'd hear in Gundam 00 or Gundam Unicorn. But nope, in Gundam Thunderbolt, instead you get the most batshit insane big band free jazz you'll only ever hear in the grimiest noir underground jazz clubs of the world. Now, look, I know I'm going to be sounding very pretentious here talking about free jazz, and I understand.
Yeah, stuff like this, it's just like interpretive art, right? It's just like, you will never understand the machinations of my mind. This is all freeform jazz, and only the highly intellectuals could truly appreciate this genius.
Understand that jazz is not everybody's cup of tea, but the fact that this soundtrack isn't more heavily celebrated in the world of anime soundtracks honestly just baffles me. Because if you really think about it, it's essentially doing what shows like Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo, and Zankyo no Teroru did so well and so successfully, giving audiences the weirdest fusion.
I love how he pronounced that Teroru at the very end, even though he could have just said terror. Truly a Japanese person.
Of story themes and music genres that you wouldn't think would work together well, but my god, they work together well.
Cowboy Bebop soundtrack is crazy. There's a soundtrack called, I think, Rush. And Rush, I think, right? It's one of the beginning soundtracks. It's so good.
It creates this grimy and dark, yet almost whimsical and chaotic feeling in every scene you encounter. And it's just so fun and quirky to listen to, even without any visuals. Like, I've been trying to find the vinyl of this goddamn soundtrack for the longest time, and I just cannot find it. If someone would like to send it to me as an early birthday present, I'll kiss your dad on the lips. But it's the pairing with the visuals that makes it so damn unique and enjoyable, and how it's not rated as highly and praised as highly as the Cowboy Bebop soundtrack, for example, while accomplishing essentially
There it is, the name Rush right there. Search into YouTube, Cowboy Bebop Rush soundtrack. It's gonna be crazy, bro.
the same thing, is just beyond me. Like this soundtrack is fucking slept on. Please listen to it, and please watch Gundam Thunderbolt. It's a great show. Again, free jazz is probably one of the most pretentious genres you can like in the world of music, but it doesn't change the fact that I think it's sick as hell. Let's just throw
Avant-garde music, I think, is even more pretentious. Like a bunch of like disconnected, non-harmonious sounds that you intentionally make sound bad, but at the very end, apparently it has some sort of artistic like fucking charm to it. I just can't fucking appreciate it.
another example in here for good measure, so that I can make an excuse to myself to talk about another brilliant anime composer.
What?
Hirasawa Susumu. For those of you uncultured swines, he's the musical genius behind all of Kon Satoshi's works, which on
I'm sorry. I've never seen any of these. I've heard of Paprika, but like, damn. This is really in the... You gotta be in the upper bracket of the IQ, bro, to be appreciating this. I'm sorry, I'm too much of a monkey to be watching this.
honestly I could talk about in detail for far too long, but I will save for a potential future video instead. Leave a like if you want to see a 3-hour video of me talking about Kon Satoshi films. I'll do
I don't think anyone's gonna fucking click onto that. No, don't disrespect, but like, that's just how, like, the average person thinks, right? Like, they don't care about this super niche, amazing, genius, creative art. They want 3-hour essay on fucking Naruto, bro. Maybe some fucking battle shonen animes and video essays.
it. Hirasawa Susumu's music has always been interesting to me because his music sounds as weird as I feel while watching Kon Satoshi movies. When people listen to Hirasawa Susumu's music and say that the soundtracks he makes are in an entire genre of their own, they're really not kidding. Like, it's this weird blend of like this eclectic Eastern world music with this avant-garde sound of progressive electronica, and if you're not a music nerd and all of what I just said sounds like shit I just made up,
I mean, when I hear avant-garde, I already assume that it's just gonna sound like trash. And you're gonna do some mental gymnastics to prove that no, it's actually good. But to me, it just does not sound good music to my ears.
all you have to do is listen to the soundtrack of Paranoia Agent and Paprika, and you will immediately understand what I'm talking about. I remember the first time I listened to Parade from the Paprika soundtrack, and what
All these Sailormen look like those creepy motherfuckers that was about to grape Momo by the end of Dandadan, first half of season 1.
watched the accompanying scene in the movie and thought, why is this beautiful? Because conceptually it's a weird and scattered and almost creepy sounding track with these glitched out vocals scattered over this weird marching beat, but amidst all of the chaos, it gave me
visuals
a
are
really
creepy.
freeing
What the fuck is happening? A bunch of Sailormen on their knees with cell phones on their hand as their head. Maybe they want to take a picture, of the upskirt that the whatever. I don't want to name them actually. I don't want to get banned.
feeling like you're stuck in the strangest dream you've ever been in and just accept everything that's happening around you. Of course, you don't have to go completely over the top and weird with your soundtracks for it to be memorable. Like, look at shows like Fully Cooley, for example. The Pillows, who are the Japanese band responsible for basically the entire soundtrack, play some rudimentary J-rock and garage rock, but again, it's the pairing of this particular sound and attitude with the chaotic balls to the walls action of Fully Cooley and the immaculate vibe that the show gives off that makes it this perfect emotion enhancer.
I heard the show is just a fucking acid trip. It's just so crazy.
Again, as much as the story themes and the animation style and the characters in Fully Cooley are great and memorable on their own, it's because of its soundtrack that makes that show so much more memorable in the eyes of its fans. Even after 20 freaking years of it coming out, people are still talking about this show and
Studio
still
Gainax.
talking about this soundtrack because it's good. Like, I still remember how I felt the first time I listened to tracks like Blues Drive Monster and I Think I Can and Ride on Shooting Star, the ending song, and how much that impact just helped me to ingrain Fully Cooley into my mind from a young age. And like, I just wanted to like,
You know what I was listening to as a young age? You know what shaped me as a young age? I'll play it for a second. Yep. These are some memorable soundtracks when I was watching growing up. Shit like that, bro.
go outside and just start running. I don't know where I was going, but I just wanted to run. I had this strong urge to just run and shoot a robot out of my forehead for some reason. As someone who is fortunate enough to have personally known and befriended people in the industry who have left their mark on the music side of anime, I felt this weird obligation to make this particular video about this topic because, again, I feel that it is truly an underrated
Underrated
aspect that makes anime so great. Not every anime is going to have that memorable opening or ending or soundtrack and still be a great piece of fiction to watch, but for me, it's those shows with that memorable.
Has there been an anime that I thought was truly so peak that had a mid soundtrack? I don't think so. When I think of my favorite animes recently, like The Evanescent Shadow or Re:Zero, what else have we watched that I really enjoyed? Even like Classroom of the Elite has some fucking banger soundtracks, right? Made in Abyss, I think, is an amazing, anime that has an amazing fucking soundtrack thanks to Kevin Penkins and stuff like that. Any like really memorable soundtrack, anime, is usually accompanied by a great soundtrack, if not amazing. Like, I don't think there's a single anime that I truly enjoyed way more than, you know, just the usual fucking garbage slop that we consume on a seasonal basis that didn't have a good soundtrack. Do for Damsel, fucking garbage. Garbage. What's really sad is Tower of God Season 2, and I've used this example to highlight that sometimes when you have such an amazing composer in a soundtrack, and if the anime is so mid, it feels disrespectful. It feels almost like it's jarring, it's comedic. When I see the visuals that's so lacking in any sort of passion or enthusiasm, coupled with an amazing fucking soundtrack, it's just so funny to me. It's hilarious. You have such a shitty anime and you have such an amazing soundtrack playing. That difference is hilarious to me.
Music attached to it that will probably be the ones that I'll remember for the rest of my life. And as cheesy as that statement might sound to some people, it's a huge reason why I fell in love with the medium of anime and the medium of music in the first place. Growing up singing the Doraemon opening all day, every day, non-stop as a toddler, to then broadening my horizon in the world of anime and discovering so many new composers and bands and soundtracks from anime helped me shape the person I am today. And
Yeah.
I think that experience of discovery in the world of music and in the world of anime is truly personal. Like, maybe there wasn't a single soundtrack I talked about in this video that you vibe with as hard as I do, or holds a special place in your heart as much as it does for me. But I think that's the beautiful thing about music. There's always
It's subjective. Everyone has different preferences and different examples of what inspires you.
going to be something for everybody for different reasons. So shout out to all the people who don't immediately skip the openings and endings. Shout out to all the incredibly talented songwriters and composers and musicians who make anime that much more exciting and memorable. And thank you for watching this video. Hey, whoa, that's crazy. Joey, the anime man, making anime
What's going on, bro? There's still a little bit left. There's 2 minutes of the video left. You doing a sponsor? What's happening?
content in 2025. What's going on? Yeah, I can already see the
Yeah, the comment sections. Holy shit! Joey is making anime content in 2025. Is this real? Yeah, I mean that's the thing though, right? Like, does he still make anime content? I spent a day training with real Japanese sumo wrestlers. I asked people to vote for the best anime ever. He's definitely branching out from just, you know, anime stuff and really making it like a personality-based, you know, variety, like Japanese, like,
when
know,
you
I
stop
guess
to
like
think about some of the
industry stuff, right? Like more like Japanese industry and personal life stuff.
comments, all right, just shut up. Seriously though, thanks for watching. I've been really kind of doing these more like green screen style video essays to you guys about different
They're cool.
topics, and I hope to continue that going into 2025. Like, legitimately, if you want to see that 3-hour
Fun fact, actually my first video that I've seen of this guy that I reacted to or even like consumed this content was through Joey Bissinger, not Anime Man.
video on
That's why I was so surprised to see so many people saying, yo, this guy's hated by so many anime fans. And I'm like, what's the drama happening here, bro? It's basically him just triggering a shitload of anime fandoms due to his takes.
on Satoshi, I will do it. Don't test me. Oh, and a quick little announcement at the end here. I have made a new channel, actually. It's called Ikuru.
Or a song.
If you guys don't know.
All right, yeah. We heard Spotify, great song, go check him out. Anyways, here's the video. I thought that maybe he'd talk a little bit more about how music plays into the soundtracks, but today it was more of like a little love letter to the, you know, the soundtrack composers that he appreciates and that shaped his life. Here's a link to the Anime Man's channel. Give the video a like, and maybe together we can help him hit 4 million subs. See you next time.